Alright, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the channel. AMC Stock is up 5% at the time of recording this video. What a beautiful day for AMC so far. We're going to get into it. AMC stock hit a low of $10.72 earlier in the day today. This bounce is far overdue, and I think this could be either a big day today or in the next coming days you could see that big bounce. One of those reasons is the fact that the RSI is extremely oversold. So even on a technical basis, let me go ahead and mute that so it's not so loud in the background. Even on a technical basis, the stock is massively oversold. And just logically speaking, I mean, you're so oversold that when AMC comes out and says that they have raised capital, the stock will probably rally off of that, not sell off. You're way too oversold. Okay, so this bounce has been a long time in the making. Now, there is a reason why the markets are very ecstatic today. And let's talk about that, because that is, I think, very important as well. It comes down to the JOLTS job openings. So the JOLTS job openings were expected at 9.46 million. The job openings came in at 8.82 million. The Fed has said very clearly multiple times, like almost every single time Fed Jerome Powell gets on the podium, that you need to see the labor market not so tight. You need to see companies that if a worker quits, they can just fill that position again. They don't need to pay more. They don't need to kind of incentivize as much. That's how you will keep a healthy labor market long term, or a labor market that is not inflating year after year after year. This can happen two ways to really break the labor market. Either the unemployment rate rises or the JOLTS job openings falls. And you've started to see the JOLTS job openings fall. Now, that does not mean the rest of this week is going to be really bullish. I mean, today it looks pretty good for the markets, but you do have more data coming later this week. So on Friday, you're going to get the unemployment rate and the non-farm payrolls. If the unemployment rate does go up, well, that kind of counteracts the JOLTS job openings, because you're seeing the unemployment rate rising and the JOLTS job openings fall, which would be that hard landing. You want to see the unemployment rate come in around 3.5%. So if that happens on Friday, that's going to be great. And the markets are going to love that. Now, AMC's probably getting some of this reaction as well to the markets here today. As you can see, Treasury yields are falling quite a bit. The 10-year Treasury is down about 8 basis points. The 2-year Treasury is down 12 basis points. So the markets are firmly saying, hey, the Fed is probably done raising rates today. And if we look at the probability for a rate hike coming September, it is only now 12%. It's dropped about 8%, 8-9% here today alone, based off of this JOLTS job opening report. So I think this is having some degree of a bullish effect on AMC stock here today. Now, I think the vast majority of it, what's causing this bullish effect, is just simply the fact that we were so oversold. Now, the data is still not correct over on Ortex. Something that is very strange that is happening today. Interactive Brokers says the cost of borrow fees are 15.79%. And there's 2 million shares that are available to be lent out. I don't know if these numbers are correct. That doesn't make a lot of sense to me, considering the last cost of borrow fees that we've seen was 740%. Although it's possible, I mean, but that would be a huge drop. More than likely, Ortex is, again, messing up with some of their data readings. It's basically been that way since this conversion has happened, because of how the share structure now is. It's going to take a little while for some of these numbers to be accurate. Like, take a look at the cost to borrow max, 71%. Yesterday, the cost to borrow max was 861%. Cost to borrow minimum yesterday was about 40%, and this number wasn't even correct, and now it is 8.5%. Cost to borrow average says 10.1%. That's not true. The last real numbers we got were in the hundreds of percent ranges. So you just got to take this data with a grain of salt, especially the short interest. Look at that. Short interest of 13.02%. The last official reported short interest we got was 29.25%, the highest that we have seen in the cycle back on August 15th. Again, I've talked about this before. This was when AMC stock was in the 30s, right? You're less than $12 today. You're at $11.59. You're far off of where you were August 15th. And the short interest dropped 60%. That doesn't make any sense to me. So I think the short interest is very high. 35 to 45%, could be even higher than that. So you got to keep that in mind when you're just looking at this trade. The short interest is even higher than it's ever been before. So that can also put the stock at a kind of pressure point to get a big upside move. I don't think this 5% move or 6% move where we're at right now is at all to the extent of the bounce that you're going to see. We're not even close to that. So we'll see what happens throughout the day today. It's possible that AMC stock just continues to rally if the markets do as well. Now, AMC stock is still on the threshold securities list. We're not getting any more FTD numbers that have came out yet. At some point this week we will. But today, you're looking at FTDs of 8.4 million. Tomorrow you drop to 7.5 million, and then to 6.8 million, and then you start to rebound all the way to 7.7 million as of the start of Monday of next week. So there is a lot of buying pressure that still needs to be done as far as the actual FTD numbers. Now, it looks like someone pointed this out in the trading community. It does look like the 100,000 or so calls that were in the money did get exited. Now, two things you need to know, or two things that could happen here. Either a hedge fund or institution exercised the 120,000 calls, which looks like the most probable outcome, considering the move that we're seeing today of about 6% to the upside, and considering where AMC stock is. It's at $11 per share. Like, why would you not exercise your 120,000 options? And if we pull that in a calculator, 120,000 times 100, that would be about 12 million shares that somebody probably just bought. Now, if these trades are done using dark pools or kind of half on a dark pool, half on a lit exchange, it's not going to move the stock the way that somebody purchasing 12 million shares on the open markets would. So you guys got to keep that in mind. That's possible that this was a dark pool trade, and that's probably the most likely. So, in my opinion, those 120,000 calls probably were exercised in the dark pool. That's what I would imagine. And we're seeing, again, the stock is up today, so that would obviously make a lot of sense. Now, if you take a look at the out the money calls, you're at 56,770. In the money calls at 3,700. Puts in the money at 27,000, puts out the money at 33,615. Now, the other thing that could have happened with the 120,000 calls is the calls just outright got sold. But that doesn't make a whole lot of sense to me because this wasn't a late, like last couple of minutes of trading yesterday move from a hedge fund or institution. So that doesn't make sense to me to have that kind of position size to just get in and get out within just a couple of minutes of trading, essentially. It makes a lot of sense to go and actually exercise those options. So that is what I would bet actually happened with this situation. So I wouldn't look into it too much. Besides, someone probably just took a really big bullish position on AMC. So there is all of that. That's kind of everything you need to know on the day. There's nothing that is really happening besides that. If we go ahead, we can try to Google, right? AMC stock news. Nobody's really covering the stock all too much right now. And when they do, they don't kind of cover it the right way. Like Seeking Alpha, could this finally be the bottom? A contrarian's view. Yeah, of course. You're at the bottom, dude. Even the bears, even the bearish bears, you know, their price targets were hit during this whole sell-off. And this article says AMC stock erases all 2,850% gains from 2021. Meme mania. Like, yeah, dude, you're at the lows. You're at the same point you were before January. I mean, come on now. The business is doing a lot better since then. And there's obviously still a very large retail community in here as well. Highest short interest that you have seen. Shouldn't it make sense that you hit a bottom? Yeah, it does. And taking on positions now is a lot less risky, like I've said before, than you know, buying the stock where we were in the 30s, 40s, or 50s. Now, just think about that in context to how the stock could move. You're at $11 per share. Just to get back to where we have been trading at the last couple of months, that would be AMC in the 40s or 50s. This bounce could be huge. This 5.5% could just be the start of this bounce in AMC. Now, for whatever reason, if the data throughout the rest of this week is very negative or something along those lines, the markets do panic, which is definitely possible. $10 per share looks like a solid level of support. Considering you bounced today at $10.72, I would watch $10.50 as a level of support as well. You bounce pretty close to that today. But in a kind of worst case scenario, $10 per share looks like where the stock would ultimately bottom. And for a bounce here, like I said Sunday, I do expect a bounce to the 20s or even mid-20s here pretty dang shortly, guys. So that's kind of what you guys need to know. Not too much else to actually say here. Just watch to see kind of how AMC reacts to certain levels. And we'll just have to wait and see if the Ortex data does update and actually give us some real numbers sometime soon. Does not look like that's actually the case here today. Short score of 83. 204 million worth of short positions in AMC. Free float out and loan, it says 19%, not true. Estimated short interest on free float, not true at 12.5%. Days to cover, 5.38. That looks more true, but I mean, who even knows? Shares out on loan is updating a little bit more. That's at 27.4 million. Considering the float of AMC is like 57 million, that would be like 50% short interest, right? Or close to that. So we'll see where the numbers ultimately come out. And utilization sitting at 63%. So the data is really hit or miss, and you should be very careful on kind of what you solidify as true or not, guys. So that is going to do it for this video. Hit that like button, subscribe to the channel, and source your comments, questions, or concerns down below in the comment section. You guys have a great rest of your day, and I will see you in the next one.